Abandoned and on the brink of death, I found him, a tiny, broken rabbit with no hope left. What I didn't know was that saving his life would end up saving mine. This is the story of Clover, the little fighter who taught me how to love again. Stay with me. This journey will touch your heart. The box was small and barely moved, sitting on the side of a busy road. I wouldn't have noticed it if it weren't for the faintest rustling sound. It was late, and the sun was dipping below the horizon, casting long shadows across the pavement. My mind told me to keep walking, but my heart wouldn't let me. Curiosity, and maybe a little hope, pulled me toward it. Peering inside, I saw a tiny rabbit, curled up in the corner. Its fur was patchy, its frame thin, and one of its ears hung limp. It barely breathed, its tiny body trembling in the cool evening air. It was as if the world had thrown this fragile creature away, left to fend for itself, in a place it could never survive. I felt a pang in my chest, an ache I hadn't felt in years. You see, I'd been living in a haze ever since losing my mom 2 years ago. She had loved animals, always finding room in her heart and home for strays. After she was gone, I felt like I'd lost not just her, but the ability to connect with anything at all. My apartment was quiet and empty, much like my heart. But something about this rabbit stirred something inside me, a spark of her voice in my head, urging me to help. I gently lifted the rabbit out of the box. It didn't fight, too weak to resist, but its eyes fluttered open for a moment, locking onto mine. That single glance felt like a plea. Don't give up on me. I carried it home, cradling it against my chest, whispering reassurances as I walked. You'll be okay, I told it, though I wasn't entirely sure. The first night was tense. I didn't know much about rabbits, but I knew this one needed care immediately. I called every emergency vet I could find until one finally agreed to see us. The vet told me the little guy was severely dehydrated, malnourished, and had an infected paw that would require treatment. He's got a tough road ahead, the vet warned, but with time, patience, and love, he might pull through. Time, patience, and love. I hadn't given much of that to anyone, not even myself, since my mom passed. But looking down at this fragile creature, I knew I had to try. I named him Clover, a little ironic, given how unlucky his start in life had been. Each day was a small battle. I learned how to hand-feed him, clean his wounds, and make him comfortable. At first he was timid, retreating to the corner of the small pen I'd set up for him. But slowly, Clover began to trust me. He'd nibble on bits of lettuce from my hand, his nose twitching in that way rabbits do. The first time he hopped, just a small, hesitant movement, I nearly cried. It was as if he was daring to hope again, just as I was. As Clover healed, so did I. The quiet moments we spent together, me reading on the couch while he nibbled hay, or the way he'd nudge my hand for a head rub, brought a warmth back into my life I hadn't felt in years. One evening, as I sat watching him explore the apartment with cautious hops, I realized something. Clover wasn't just a rabbit I had rescued. He was a reminder of everything my mom had stood for: compassion, love, and the belief that everyone, no matter how small or broken, deserves a chance. Months later, Clover had transformed. His fur was thick and soft, his once injured paw healed, and his spirit unshakable. He'd zoom around the living room, leaping into the air with a joy I hadn't thought possible for either of us. Clover taught me how to laugh again, how to wake up each day with purpose. He showed me that love doesn't have to be big or loud to matter. It can be as small as a twitch of a nose, a gentle nudge, or a quiet presence by your side. They say I saved Clover that day on the side of the road, but the truth is, he saved me too. He filled the silence in my home with the sound of tiny hops and the rustle of hay. He reminded me that even when you feel like giving up, there's always a reason to keep going. Clover may have been one paw in the grave when I found him, but now he's the reason I live with an open heart. And every time he looks at me with those bright, trusting eyes, I know my mom would be proud